Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we are carrying a series on human resource management, and so far we have conducted 4 lectures under the series. Dear friends, this is the 5th lecture and today we would be discussing on recruitment and selection. In first half we would be taking a note on recruitment, and later on in the another half we would be discussing on selection. And for this very discussion we have once again with us Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Namita Rajput is a well-known academician. Presently, she is Associate Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. Dr. Namita Rajput has immense experience. She has written number of books. Her number of articles have been published in various reputed journals. So, dear friends, let's welcome our guest, Dr. Namita Rajput, and let's try to understand more and more about recruitment and selection. Hello, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So today's lecture series would be centering around the concept called recruitment. Now recruitment is the process of searching for the prospective employees and stimulating and encourage them to apply for the job in the organization. This particular definition is given by Flippo. So as the definition suggests that here we are centering around that we have to push and encourage the good people so that they can apply in an organization and they could be selected and would be placed in an organization. So there is another important definition given by Yoder. Recruitment is a process to discover the sources of the manpower, which is very important for the persons to be joining in an organization, and for the effective employment measures for attracting that manpower in adequate number to facilitate the effective selection of an efficient workforce. So as the particular definitional aspect of the recruitment is concerned, so recruitment is basically when we find out such kind of environment and we push the good employees so that they come and join the organization. So let us have now on the concept of recruitment. Recruitment is a dynamic function of an organization as it holds together the manager and the worker. It is a very crucial part of gaining the element of the human resource management, as it ensures the right people for right positions and for the right time. It is a process for attracting the potential candidates to fill the application forms and is a preliminary stage of the employment process. It encourages the prospective candidates to fill the application form and to fill the vacant post. So since we see on the concept of the recruitment here, so the recruitment here basically talks about that it's a dynamic function because it connects the management and the workers, and the scenario around keeps on changing. So as we are living in a dynamic environment, the requirement of the people which we need keeps on changing, because the dynamism is a factor which forces an organization to always change the way of working, to change the policy framework, and to change the basic scenario under which the organization operates. So because of the dynamism element factor, there is a constant need for the organization to recruit good number of people, and so this is a process for searching the good manpower. And if we have a good manpower in an organization, this is a big asset for the organization. So the first and the preliminary thing in the employment process is that we should recruit the good people. So unless and until we encourage the good and the potential people to come and apply in an organization, so we cannot move ahead in the employment process. So the employment process starts with the first concept called as recruitment. So it is observed that when you talk about the recruitment, it is a positive process because here we are encouraging and we are increasing the number of the applications, and is not a negative process. So positive process means when something is increasing. So here we are actually encouraging the good people to come and apply for the organizational vacant post. And it refers to the process of bringing the right people for right kind of position and at the right time, basically to achieve the organizational goals. So why there is a need for recruitment is a big question. Vacancies are created because of the death, because of the expansion plans, because of the diversification plans, be it a vertical integration and a downward integration or a horizontal integration. And basically when the organization talks about the growth, So all these activities, they are inadvertent, and basically they are actually not known to anyone of the people that when anyone can die in an organization. So these kind of contingent conditions can come anytime. But yes, when you talk about the growth diversification plans, this is well known in advance that the organization is going to grow in future. So keeping into consideration the needs of the expansion plans, the diversification plans of the organization, we have to recruit the good number of people, because the expansion plans also embeds in self the rise in the job positions, the increase in the number of persons to be employed. So since we have to fill those vacant posts which we are anticipating in advance about the future activities of the organization, so we have to be well prepared in advance that yes, this is the number of people with this kind of a potential we would be needing in an organization. So that is why we call it that it is a positive activity, because we are encouraging the good number of people to come and apply in the organization, because we have to immediately fill the vacant post. And for that matter, if we have the expansion plans, so in coming into a futuristic approach and futuristic conditions, we need to have a backup of the good people who are actually will be a good asset for the company. Now, increase in the competitive advantage of certain corners enable them to more available business than the formerly, and of course an increase in the business arising from an upswing during the recovery period of a business cycle. So as we all know that the business cycle, it is a kind of a situation in which there is a downfall in the business, the stagnation in the business, and the rise in the business. So when the cycle goes on an increasing sale and we are on a recovery stage of the economy, so the pace is slowly increasing, the activities would be will be at an increasing rate increasing, so we would be needing more people in the future because we are in a recovery stage of the business cycle. So we are discussing basically in this particular part of the lecture that why do we need the recruitment activity, which is a very vital and a preliminary activity in the employment process. So just to have a recap, there can be a sudden death in the organization, so that's a contingent and we are very unsure about the death because of certain activities of the expansion and diversification plans of the organization, and it could be because of the competitive advantage that we would like to recruit more and more number of people, and maybe we are on a recovery stage of the business cycle. So to cover up that kind of an activity, we would be needing more and more people for the organization to achieve the organizational goals. Now there is a need for recruitment because the vacancies created can be due to the transfer, due to the promotion, retirement, permanent disability, or the death. So these are the vacancies which are created because of the conditions which are very prevalent these days, that one person is transferred from one department to another, or maybe from one branch to another branch, or maybe from a national to an international organizations. Then it could be a promotional activity because a man who is showing the potential in the organization could be promoted to a higher level of hierarchy. So when he is promoted to a higher level of hierarchy, the position into which he was earlier there is now vacant. So we have to fill that particular post. Then of course there are number of other reasons for which we need the recruitment. Maybe some persons are terminated because of their moral character, because they are not showing good signs in the organizations, they are not a feel good factor in the organizations, and they are showing all their bad factors, owing to which they are terminated or maybe suspended for forever. And there can be some kind of a permanent disabilities because we are living in a very pressurized and a very tough world these days, so because of which anyone can have a nervous breakdown, or they can have an emotional imbalance, and so they are unfit to be in the organization. So this is a kind of, maybe somebody meets an accident, so because of the permanent disability, because of the emotional disability, because of the emotional disbalance, disequilibrium, because of the death of the people, because of the promotion, and because of the transfer, these are the prime reasons for which we need the recruitment of the good people. Then of course the normal population grow, which requires increase in goods and services. So similarly, we need to grow our production also in the organization, and to meet the rising demands and the needs of the people, we need a good number of people to be recruited in the organization to match the rising demands of the growing population. Then it could be because of the rise in the standard of living, which requires more and more of the goods. So in order to complete and enhance the activities of the organization, again we need the good people to be recruited in the organization. So let us now talk about the sources of recruitment. That is, from where do we actually encourage the good people to join the organization. So basically, when you talk about the sources of the recruitment, we have two sources. One is the internal source of recruitment and the other is external source of recruitment. So let us now have a look on what are the internal sources of recruitment and what are the external sources of recruitment. So the internal sources could be a transfer and it could be a promotion. So transfer basically happens because nowadays when you talk about the Indian scenario, the persons who are at one place, they make that particular seat as a position of profit. And when it comes to be, in the knowledge of the top level management, they actually like to transfer that individual from one department to another department because of the rise in the corruptive activities, or maybe because of any other reason, or maybe the individual wants that particular transfer. So an individual is transferred from one department to another department. And then we have the promotion as a internal source again. So promotion is basically an activity which motivates an individual to be promoted from one position to a higher position in the ladder or the hierarchy of the organization. This is a kind of a motivating tool in the hands of the management, and it is a kind of a landmark, and which is a kind of an example for the other people in the organization that yes, if they show the same level of potential, they could also be promoted to a higher level. So the transfer and the promotion perhaps are the most important internal sources of recruitment. So let us now have a look on the external sources of recruitment. The first is the press advertisements. So we see now in the Daily Times and in the prevalent newspapers that there are ads coming on that we need X number of employees of this caliber and this qualification and this kind of a set skills. So we basically as an organizational head, I would like to, if I am an organizational head, I would like to give an advertisement in a very important and the prevalent newspaper in the country in which we are there, so that the reach of the organization's needs are expanded to the maximum extent, and the maximum people who are having that kind of a potential, they come to know that this particular organization needs these kind of people. So the press advertisement is perhaps the most important external source of recruitment. Then we have the educational institution these days, and we have the placement cell perhaps in every college and institution which is of higher levels. Because the campus recruitment is nowadays increasing at an increasing rate, because they are actually needing the actual dynamic and the young people who are energetic and who are very good at that age. So we try to recruit them as soon as they finish their studies. So that's a kind of a campus recruitment, which is also a kind of a external source of recruitment. And these are very, very important a placement activity, and the people and the students, they feel very motivated, and for their further career planning and pursuit of their education, higher education, the companies would sponsor them after giving them maybe 1 or 2 years of experience. Then we have the employment exchanges, which connects the people who are the job seekers and the people who need the people to be recruited. So the employment exchange nowadays, they have the online portal also, in which you can upload your CV and your curricular vital, and then of course the gaps are met about the job seekers and the job takers. So then we have the labor contractors when you talk about the manufacturing and the operational organization. So these contractors have the address of the people who are actually in need of the job, then followed by the factory gate to fill the casual vacancy and those who are absent there on that particular day. So the people are called from the gate, and because n number of people are standing outside the gate, so that the organizational production activities and the manufacturing activities are not hampered. So these are the very prevalent and very conventional sources of external recruitment. Then we have the employee recommendations. So employee recommendation is perhaps also very important these days, because the employee understands that this person is fit to join an organization. So the word which is given by the employees, and if they recommend someone, is also unveiled by the company, and of course they would try to root out that why this particular person is actually recommending the other person? Are there any malified intentions? And of course, if they are not, then of course he will be considered for the employment. So this is also one of the very important source of the external recruitment. Then we have unsolicited applicants, which is also prevalent these days. So we have now seen the internal sources of recruitment and the external sources of recruitment. There is one important very fact which I would like to highlight here, that if you talk about and compare the internal sources of recruitment and the external sources of recruitment, no particular source is a complete solution, and in fact both internal sources of recruitment and the external sources of recruitment, they complement each other. So eventually they have to join hands, and the complete solution and a comprehensive solution which is available to the organization would be a combination of both the internal sources as well as the external sources of recruitment. So let us now study these factors of internal sources one by one. So the first, we would be coming on to a transfer. So transfer basically refers to a mobility of an individual from one department to another, from one kind of a job to another kind of a job, but yes, they try that the person is there in the same in the hierarchy. Like if he is a manager in X department, he would be a manager in the other department as well. So this is a kind of a restricted transfer from the organization would be the same, the level would be the same in terms of the hierarchy and the ladder, whereas the job which was he was earlier doing, he will now be doing a diverse kind of a job. So this is a kind of a transfer. And then of course transfer defines a horizontal movement of an individual from one position to another, ordinarily without any marked changes in duties, responsibilities and the skills. It does not bring any change in the status and the level of the pay of an employee. So here you can see that there are no monetary benefits in terms of the transfer, but yes, there are certain strategies which is adopted by the corporate and the strategic decisions which are taken by the managers, which makes it mandatory for one person to be transferred from one department to another department. Now, organizational resort to transfer to achieve the following objectives. The first is to meet the organizational requirement that occur due to technology, schedule of production, market fluctuations like demand and supply, and dropping the existing lines of the operations and adding on to the new lines of operations. So because of these conditions, it becomes mandatory for the organization to be strategic in this regard and transfer one person to another person, because he may not be good in the technology and he may not be tax savvy, but yes, the other person who is working in the same department is a tax savvy person, and because of the changes in the internet and communication technologies, it becomes mandatory for an individual to be transferred from one job to another job. Then it could be basically to satisfy the employee needs and to improve the background by placing him in different jobs in the various units. And it resolves the interpersonal conflicts also, because maybe I was working, I'll take you my example, if I'm working in a next department and I'm not finding the atmosphere very congenial and I'm having a very bad interpersonal relationship with someone, so I will not be at a mental peace and my emotional imbalance is likely to occur. So it is basically to resolve a resolution strategy that one person is transferred from one job to another job. So automatically the person would be in a better setup with a good mental imbalance, which was earlier there will not be now there, and the resolution of the interpersonal conflicts will also be solved. Now basically there are other needs also, because of which the individual is transferred from one department to another to adjust the workforce to find out the layoffs and the adverse business conditions. Maybe you are not in a position to recruit more people, but yes, the X department is needing more people and the Y department is a surplus factor division. So from the surplus department, the persons would be transferred to the deficit department. So overall, it is a cost optimization technique for the organization also, and the person would be handling various issues, diverse issues. So he will be a well-versed person who can handle n number of activities and will be proving as a multitasker, which could be suited in one department will now be suited in the other department also. then it is a kind of a relief to the existing employees of one department that they feel overburdened and pressurized because of the work pressure on that department. To so release that pressure, the individual is transferred from one department to another department. So basically to ensure the discipline also that could be enforced, and basically to minimize the resulting due to permanent stay and the contact with the customer, dealers and suppliers. So what are the advantages of transfer? The overall, it reduces the employee monotony and the boredom. It increases the employee satisfaction. It improves the employee skills and knowledge. It corrects the erroneous placements and interpersonal conflicts, and it prepares the employees to meet the organizational exigencies. So this is one of the very important strategy which the organization has to take care, that the internal sources should be completely met, and either the person is promoted or he is transferred. The promotion could be a vertical promotion, it could be an upgradation, and it could be a dry promotion. So what do you mean by a vertical promotion? Let us have a look on this. Under this type of an employee is reallocated to the subsequent higher levels accompanied by a greater responsibility, greater pay, authority and status. So this is a kind of a vertical promotion, that a person is promoted to a higher level with everything would be higher in terms of the pay, in terms of the activities, and in terms of the authority and the responsibility structure as well. Then we have an upgradation. Under this type of the promotion, the employee is promoted in organizational hierarchy and the employee gets more salary, higher authority and responsibility. Then comes the dry promotion. Under this type, the employee is progressed to the higher hierarchy levels with larger responsibilities and authority, and there is no increase in the pay or the salary of the employee, and that is why we call it as a dry promotion, because there are no monetary payoffs and the benefits under which the employee is seeking for. So that is why it is a dry promotion. Then we have already discussed the kind of the press advertisements, the educational institutions, the employment exchanges, the labor contractors, the factory gates, the employee recommendations and the unsolicited applicants. So when you talk about the unsolicited applicants, one of the significant source of the recruitment is unsolicited applicants who send their request for appointment against a vacant position whenever arises in any organization. Through this method, the employer saves not only the selection and the training cost, but also the other expenditure like pension, insurance and the fringe benefits. So this is all we have to discuss about the internal and the external sources of recruitment, and which is as a last comment in this lecture I would like to make that the internal and the external sources, they complement each other and they are not in contrary to each other, and they put together in the combination of the internal and external would give a complete and a comprehensive solution to the contemporary organizations to meet their levels of and the requirements in relation to recruitment. Thank you so much. A very good afternoon, viewers. In this particular lecture series, we would be talking about the selection. In the earlier part of the lecture, we centered around the recruitment, which was a positive concept of the organization in which we actually invited and pushed the prospective employees to come and apply in the organization. So once we have received the number of applications in the organization. So we would be screening and scrutinizing those organizations, those applications in the organizations. Certain applications would be rejected right away because either they are inadequate or the information is not complete, and maybe the qualification is inadequate, and there could be a number of reasons because of which the applications could be rejected. But now we will talk about that what specific and the planned process of the selection means and how the organization moves on to the process of selection. Selection is basically a kind of a negative process, because if we receive maybe about 1000 applications, so ultimately you have very less number of seats to be filled and the vacancies are very less compared to the applications received in the organization. So we are in the process of deleting and excluding and rejecting the applications, and eventually we are left with very few of the applications, and under which we would be interviewing them. We would be taking a number of different kind of tests, and those who are actually passing those particular kind of a test, we would have a personal interaction with them, and those who are found to be physically and mentally fit would finally be a part of the organization in which they would be working and achieving the organizational goals. So this particular lecture, in which we will unveil that what is the process of selection, how the organization moves about to the selection, what particular types of test the organization would be taking, and finally how the organization would be selecting the people in the organization. So let us have a look on the process of selection and what are the steps involved in the process of selection. So as the word selection here means that we are having a particular steps and they are all in sequence. So when you talk about the process, all the sequel steps are there, and you cannot pass and bypass any of the step. Like you cannot pass 12th class before you study nursery to 11th. So similarly, the selection process is sequential in nature, and we have a series of the steps which would be followed one after the other, and finally we have a right kind of a selection who would be joining the organization and the workforce of the organization. So what is the first step? The first step is the application blank. And after we receive the application blank, we have a preliminary interview and the screening of the applications. And then of course, the people who have already filled the screening of the application form, we would see the references which they have given in the application, and we would be interviewing them, followed by taking certain kind of an employment test, and eventually they have to give their medical test. And after clearing all these steps, the organization is open to take them as an employee. So we would be discussing all these steps in detail. So first coming on to be what is an application blank, because this is the first step in the process of selection. So the concept of the application blank must be well known to everyone. The application blank is perpetually used as one of the selection tools by the human resource managers. The application blank is a preliminary stage in the selection process. Application blank provides the factual information needed for assessing the candidate's suitability, and the data collected through application forms can become a part of the employee records. The employee application blank encompasses the written record of the following information: the basic information like the family background, the date of birth, the place of birth, the age, gender, citizenship, marital status, etc. The data regarding the qualifications like academic, career, grade, divisions, awards, technical requirement, qualification, etc. Then the information regarding the experience like the past jobs, the nature of the work done, the job responsibilities, the time period, title, salary, reasons for leaving the past job, expected salary allowances and other fringe benefits, and the details regarding the extracurricular activities and the hobbies. So we would be discussing here the application blank. So application blank eventually will unveil the complete information about the candidate who has applied in an organization. So it will not only give the demographic profiles and the academic profiles of the organizational applicant here, but it would also unveil the kind of the hobbies which he has been doing, what kind of job responsibilities were there as a part of the earlier job which he was leaving. Here the reasons of leaving the job would also be asked. The references checking is also done, because maybe he's not of a good moral character, maybe he's of a very good character. So some kind of certifications are also expected to be a part of the application blank, that what are the reasons for leaving the previous kind of a job in which he was earlier there. So this kind of an information would give a fair idea about an applicant, that how important he will be for the organization, because we have the column for the qualification, the column for the skills, the column for the previous role and responsibilities which he has been playing, because then it becomes the base for the current particular position and the job analysis which we will do in this regard for that particular applicant. So this unveils a complete and a comprehensive information about the applicant. So not only this, the second step and in the process of selection is the screening of the application forms. So how do we do it? The preliminary interview. The preliminary interview is basically held in case of the factory gate candidates, and it is typically of a very short duration and is meant to obtain the elementary information to identify the apparent misfits or unqualified candidates. If the candidate holds the basic requirement, he is given an application form to be filed, is sought from the approaching employees, and all the application forms received are then screened and scrutinized in order to shortlist those applicants who are capable enough to be called for the employment test. So as you see that the particular the concept in this kind of a process of selection, we call it as a screening of the application forms. So screening here basically means that we are trying to find out the shortfalls in the organizational application form which has been filled by the applicant, and definitely the kind of the information which is required is not there, and maybe the qualification which was asked is not there, the application form could be unfilled, and there could be other kind of misfits for the application which has been filed by the applicant. So there are so many reasons because of which we reject the candidates. So there is a checklist and there is a complete point checking of the application in depth and in detail, so that we are able to find out the complete insights about whether the candidate will be fitting that organization or not. So after the kind of a screening and after rejecting the unfit and the unsuitable and the ill-fit candidates, we will now call upon those people who are fitting that particular organization for the further test. So there are particular kind of a test which will be conducted by the organization to find out their psycho criteria also, and there are other situational tests also, so that we are able to understand and analyze a complete analysis of an individual in terms of academic, in terms of situational, in terms of contingent character of an individual. So let us now come on to the employment test which we talked about. The employment test is an instrument intended to measure the qualities and abilities of the potential candidates in terms of the job specifications. It helps in providing a sample behavior that could be used to draw interpretations about the future performance of an individual, and the number of tests is used as a selection tool which may be categorized as intelligence test, aptitude test, achievement test, interest test, and the personality test, etc. Now let us talk about these kind of tests in detail. Now basically the job analysis has been done previous to the recruitment, which we have already discussed in the previous lecture series, which is divided in two: job specification and the job description. Job description specifically centers around the title of the job, the working condition, the reporting scenario, etc. Whereas the job specification would be only centering around the qualifications and the skill sets which are mandatory for an individual to have, only then he can join the organization. So here when you talk about the employment test, the job specification conditions are specifically tested here, and on the basis of the job specifications which has been fixed, we actually select and deselect the candidates. So job specification is a benchmark on the basis of which the selection and the screening of the candidates is done. So there are n number of tests which we have already discussed, like the intelligence test, personality test, aptitude test, the capability test and the intelligence test, etc. So which we will be discussing detail in the subsequent slides. So what do you mean by the intelligence test? Intelligence tests are used to measure the individual reasoning ability, verbal command, work articulately, mental ability, decision making ability, and it also helps in eliminating the candidates who are unsatisfactory, intelligent for effective performance. So here this is a very important type of a test, and perhaps this is the kind of a test which every modern contemporary organization is conducting, because the intelligence is one factor which is primarily needed for every organization and for actually recruiting the potential and the good candidates. The candidate must possess the intelligence in terms of his communication abilities, like he should be able to communicate nicely, and the communication is the essence of everything. If he is unable to communicate in the organization, because he has to talk to the fellow beings, he has to speak to so many people, and his expression is not good, his communication skills are bad, then of course it is not good for an individual to be a part of the organization. Then he should have the mental abilities. He should be having a particular decision making power, because decision making power is one thing which he has to actually practically use every now and again, every time and again. And if he is not having these particular kind of the skills, then it, of course, the candidate is surely misfit, and he should not be joining that particular organization and the workforce of the organization, because ultimately he will not be able to be an asset or a resource in the organization. In fact, he would be a liability for the organization. So after taking the intelligence test, the organization conducts the aptitude test also. So let us now have a look on what the aptitude test means. Aptitude tests are used to measure the individual's ability to learn a job after providing the adequate training and development programs to them. So if he has the aptitude, whatever the training and the development programs are conducted by the organization, he'll be able to pick up everything. And now definitely the pre and the post scenario, that is before and after giving the training program, there will be an immense difference between his production levels, and his takeaways are good. And if his takeaways are good after the conduct of the management development programs and other development programs and the training programs, then of course if he is increasing on his performance levels, we would declare that this person is of a high aptitude. So aptitude is basically related to the takeaways, and basically that how far he is able to achieve in terms of the performance after the training and the development programs are conducted in the organization. Then we have the achievement test, which is again also a very important test and is a kind of an elimination round for the unfit candidates, and they should never be a part of the organization. So what do you mean by aptitude test? Aptitude tests are used to establish whether the individual actual process what he claims or not. These tests are used to authenticate the genuineness of his claim. The most important type of achievement tests are trade tests. Such tests are designed to measure the skills in a particular trade, like a machinist, carpenter, plumbing, etc. So achievement test is basically a kind of a practical test which every organization conducts specifically for those kind of jobs which needs a personal achievement test. Like we have a plumbing, so plumbing work where the organization would ask him to do a particular kind of a plumbing job. Similarly for a carpenter, they would also give a kind of a job which is practically, you can see that whether the work of a carpenter is known to that individual or not, and if he is able to optimize and achieve the kind of the work which has been done, then we say that he has passed the achievement test. Then we have the interest test, which is also very important these days, and the interest tests are used to foresee whether a candidate is intent to do a particular job or not, because most of the candidates, they join the organization because they are under a pressure to earn the bread and butter. But yes, when you offer him a job, he may not be happy, but because of the pressures he takes it. So in order to unveil this particular factor, that is whether he has the interest in that particular job or not, we conduct the interest test, that whether the individual is actually interested in that kind of job or not. Then we have a personality test. Personality tests are intended to measure the personality characteristics of a candidate, like emotional stability, tolerance, psychoneurotic and psychotendencies. These tests are usually used for the selection for the executive jobs. The trained experts are required for administration, implementation, evaluation and selection of the competent candidates. So overall, when you talk about the top managerial positions and when you talk about the top level management, these particular type of personality tests are conducted by the organization, because ultimately they have to hold a position of responsibility, a position of pride and a position of the most important decision making is concerned. So as a matter of fact, they must be having a good personality. So we try to give them some kind of a situation so that we are able to test their emotional stability. Are they immediately perturbed and disturbed in terms of that particular aspect of his personality or not? And similarly, we also agitate them in few regards. Maybe some case studies would be given to them. We try to agitate them. We try to see their actual behavior. The psychographic individual, they behave in a very different way in some time. So we try to unveil these factors, and these factors, they reflect the personality of an individual. The personality's most important aspect, especially when you talk about the top executive positions in the organization, because all the good values, they emanate from the top. So it is very important and mandatory to test whether the persons who are sitting at the top positions, are they having a good personality? Will they be able to prove as an ideal for the lower level hierarchy people, or are they having kind of a stability in terms of their emotion? So emotional intelligence should be present in the top level managers. They should be having a high level of tolerance. So all these things are unveiled, and a kind of a test which they conduct is also called as a personality test. Then we have a concept called interviewing. So interviewing is a kind of a personal interaction one-to-one between two individuals, so that we take immediate feedback of what we want to ask and what they want to say. So interview is the most extensively used technique by every organization. It is relied upon in accepting or rejecting a candidate to great extent. It enables the interviewer to view the individual's behavior directly, because it is a face-to-face interaction between the job seeker and the job provider. It is used to measure the applicant against the definite job requirements, and it is a two-way communication which also gives an individual an opportunity to the candidate to inquire about the job and the organization. Interviews basically is a kind of a very important tool in which the instant feedback is taken by the job givers to the job seekers about the job seekers, what they are, what personality they have, and whatever they want to ask. There is a personal interaction face to face between the interviewer and the interviewee. So it's a kind of a very important tool in the hands of the people, especially the job givers. So when you talk about the interviews could be a structured interview, it could be an open interview, it could be a situational interview, it could be a stress interview. So let us discuss these types of interviews one by one. Now let us talk about the structured interviews. For such interviews, the standardized list of questions are asked to all the candidates. This type of interview is more reliable than unstructured, because it does not give the interviewer the flexibility to ask the unusual question. Then about the unstructured interviews, such interviews are more original as different questions are asked according to the situation, but this type of interview lacks the reliability as each candidate is asked a different series of the questions. Then we have the situational interview. Under this type of an interview, candidates are asked and respond to about a hypothetical situation that they might face while doing a job. And the stress interview are conducted to find out whether the candidate respond to the stress or not. Its main objective is to ascertain how the candidate behaves and tackle a situation under the stress. So we have seen here the four types of interviews: the structured, the unstructured, the situational and the stress interviews. Every type of an interview is in a very typical kind, and a very typical type of outcome is collected from any type of interviews. So nowadays, the modern contemporary organizations, they do not conduct one type of interview. In fact, they have a combination of various types of interviews together to unveil and collect the answers which they want to ask. The structured questionnaire is being put in place when you talk about these structured interviews. So there's no scope of flexibilities, and the set of questions which is asked from the interviewees is almost the same, and they are fixed, and there's no amount of flexibility in the structured interviews. And whereas when you talk about the unstructured, you can ask any type of question anytime from anyone for that matter, but here the level of flexibility is more. But yes, the answers which are given by the interviewees, they may not be reliable and good, because immediately when a question is put on to you, so you can answer anything. So a kind of unstructured answers, a kind of weird answers could be expected out of it. Then of course the stress interviews and then the situational interviews are also a part and parcel of the overall interview campaign of the organization. Then after doing the interview, we have a reference checking. Nowadays we are like I'm a professor in Delhi University, so the people who are studying in the third year, the students who are studying in the third year, they come to us that we have to sign the letter of recommendations, and every day we have about many people coming and signing the LORs, that is the letter of recommendations. It's a kind of a reference which we give. So after we give the reference letter of recommendations to them, so they would be providing us with the interviews in which the universities they are applying, and whether our name is given to them, our email IDs are given to them, and they take a feedback from us that whether what the candidate has filled is correct or not. So similarly, a same scenario is followed in the corporates also, because whatever are the references which have been mentioned by the people, there's a reference checking also, because you have to unveil about the personality and the conditions under which he was there with the previous employer. So the reference checking is a very important and the vital part of the selection process, because many of the references which they give may not be true, and they may be correct, and sometimes they are exaggerated, and sometimes they are okay also. So we have to find out what is the exact scenario of the reference checking. Then of course we have the last step here, that is the medical examination, which is very important. The health is the most important factor for an individual, because if he is not healthy, he will not be able to contribute anything in terms of the performance and the production levels. So medical examination is normally conducted by an offer letter, in which the particular hospital is also mentioned that you have to go in for this particular medical center, so as to reduce the ambiguities, so as to reduce the corruption activities. The medical center which is fixed by the corporates are also given by the company itself. Then coming on to the difference between the selection and the recruitment. So we have done in detail in the previous lecture about the recruitment and in the present chapter about the selection. So it is now becomes very important and mandatory to find out the basic difference between the selection activity and the recruitment activity. So as has been discussed earlier also, the recruitment is a positive process, because we are encouraging the potential and good employees to come and apply in the organization, whereas when you talk about the selection is a kind of a deleting activity, a minus activity, a negative activity, because eventually we are trying to push the candidates, the unfit candidates, out of the organization. So this is the first and the prime difference between the recruitment and the selection, that selection is a negative activity, whereas the recruitment is a positive activity. Then of course the recruitment outcome is to bring more and more people in the organization, whereas the objective of the selection is to do away with the unfit candidates, and the candidates are reduced to very less number, because the optimum and the good number which is present after doing all types of screening and shortlisting and testing, etc., there should be good people who should be present. So the outcomes are completely diverse in nature. In recruitment we have more and more, whereas in selection we have less and less. Then both the terms should be understood in the right perspective, and the differences must be understood. So let us have the last slide for this lecture. The recruitment is concerned with identifying and attracting a pool of candidates to fill the organizational vacancies, whereas the selection is a process of matching the qualifications of the applicants with the job requirements. The basic objectives of the recruitment is to attract a large number of people for a job, whereas the main objective of selection is to reject or weed out the unsuitable candidates. Then the process which is adopted in the recruitment is very simple, whereas the overall the system and the process which is taken in the selection is very complicated. and the approach which is followed by the recruitment is a positive approach, whereas the approach which is followed in the selection is a negative approach. Then of course recruitment is a very economical process, whereas the selection, when you talk about, is a very costly and expensive process, because you need to conduct so many workshops, so many tests, so many medical examination, etc., which is a kind of an immense cost for the organization. Then of course recruitment is not time consuming, whereas a selection is a time consuming activity. So overall we have taken into depth what is a selection and what is a recruitment. I hope the takeaways would be good for the students. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. Dear friends, we would love to have your feedback. So please keep giving your feedback. If you have liked this lecture, then you can mail us at info.cc@nic.in. We would be meeting again tomorrow and would be discussing on another topic under the series Human Resource Management. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.